Corpse Core, Volume 1. Brought to you by the UniversalEdge.net's voice acting community. Directed and narrated by Johnnie Cook.
Most people rest at ease knowing that the things that go bump in the night don't exist. Sadly, it couldn't be further from the truth. No, this isn't about a government conspiracy, or even some urban tale of woe where a person wakes up missing a kidney or any of that nonsense. No, tonight I tell you a tale of dead men walking, of soldiers who fight and die again. They aren't guardians of the people. Some would argue that they are people at all. We begin our tale in an unmarked paramilitary facility, specifically in an operation room of a top-secret science lab. Rich men in business suits wait and watch behind the thick pane of glass housing their observation room. They're awaiting the arrival of Dr. Williams, who they have paid handsomely for his particular set of skills. These men are the sponsors of an international mercenary organization known to few as the Corpse Corps. Things quickly fall silent when a security camera in the operating room shows that the doctor is finally near.
Doctor, your suit is prepared.
Thank you, Nurse Patterson. I shouldn't be long. Just give me a moment, then. All right, I'm ready. Open the door.
Dr. Williams was instantly greeted by a young nurse, one who was no doubt acting as his new assistant. She was obviously somewhat nervous about being here, having been rushed into this top-secret horror just 2 days ago.
Here's your towel, Doctor.
Thank you, Nurse...
Maple, Doctor. Nurse Maple. Let's just move to from triage. The patient... the subject is prepared for your observation, Doctor.
I can understand why you'd still want to call her a patient. Truth be told, she's a bit of both. Just do what we practiced, okay? But for the sake of this surgery, we use subject. Understand?
Right, Doctor.
Strapped down to a cold metal table was Subject 52, also known as the Corpse Mother. She was a walking plague of death and destruction. Her mouth was a horror of black infectious saliva. Boils and scars were wrapped around the body of what had once no doubt been a beautiful young woman. She was now a monster, capable of infecting entire towns or even cities in a matter of hours. She squirmed and roared, biting at the air. At times she seemed to be lashing out at them. Other times she simply seemed to be crying out in pain. Either way, she remained a disturbing image. Nurse Patterson stood behind a podium, ready to record and take notes on the day's events. She always seemed cool and calculated, but she was obviously unnerved by the vision of the subject herself. She concentrated all the harder on facing the two-way mirror in front of her, from where the sponsors watched and listened.
Oh, don't be so squeamish. It's not your first surgery, is it?
No, I just mean... Well, look at her. Really look.
That's enough, ladies. It's time for us to get started. This isn't a mannequin this time.
The sponsors were a particularly interesting group. Mr. Bradshaw and Mr. Stanley in particular seemed like comical polar opposites of each other. Mr. Bradshaw was a stout, heavy man, and Mr. Stanley a tall skeleton of a human being. Mr. Stacey was the youngest of the group, having inherited the organization from his father. He was the newest addition to their twisted little club. And then, of course, there was the unnamed man, known only as the unnamed sponsor. No one knew anything about his background or even what country he came from. He was an enigma of a man who seemed to enjoy the trepidation around him. Just like every other observation meeting, he was the first to kick things off.
The reviewers are all here, Doctor. You may proceed.
Very well. Nurse Patterson should be able to answer any questions for the audience.
We're counting on you, Doctor. Start recording now.
Subject 52, Operation Day 6. The subject is a Caucasian female, brown hair, green eyes. Weight before distortion is 52 kilograms. When standing, the subject is still an unchanged height of 152 centimeters. The doctor is drawing incision lines around the inflamed, infected areas. It should be noted that the subject has recent cesarean section operation before being moved to this facility. Today's reviewing panel consists of Mr. Bradshaw, Mr. Stanley, Mr. Stacey, and of course, the primary board sponsor, who chose to remain unnamed for today's study. The primary staff here consists of Nurse Patterson, Nurse Maple, and of course Dr. Williams. Our head of security, Marx, will also be in the room to prevent any further incidents.
Leaned against the wall with an oddly large handgun strapped to his side was the Corpse Corps agent known as Marx. Unlike the others, he wore no biohazard suit, and instead sported only his military gear and body armor. He was a stoic and quiet figure, ready to kill at any given moment, should the need arise.
Due to the apparent strength of the subject, we have 2 orderlies on hand that will provide assistance with restraining the subject when necessary.
These orderlies, they have proper security clearance to be in this room?
These particular ones do, yes.
Nurse Maple, have you taken the saliva sample?
Yes, Doctor.
Good. Then, making my first incision now.
Upon seeing the odd, pus-filled liquid fall upon the ground, Mr. Bradshaw spoke up.
Mind informing us of what exactly just the hell spilled out of her, Doc?
Please refer all questions to Nurse Patterson.
Not unlike the black saliva that seems to pour from the subject, we have found that certain parts of a body carry pockets of an unidentified toxin.
Right, so you're telling me she bleeds poison?
Not just bleeds, Mr. Bradshaw, produces. And it doesn't seem to be a pleasant process. Whatever is keeping her alive is also poisoning her, causing her mind to function erratically.
We need the orderlies in here to hold the subject down.
All right. Got her, Doc.
Mr. Stanley didn't seem too impressed by the extra amount of effort they put into restraining the subject.
Why so many men to hold down someone so small?
Not someone, Mr. Stanley, something. If you were here for last week's session, you'd understand exactly why we take such precautions. Nurse Maple here is new to the project, replacing Nurse Cormack. After the reported incident, she's been deemed unable to work as a nurse.
And what incident was that exactly?
Her face has melted off. Her tongue is gone. The poor dear can't even speak anymore.
Oh, and you volunteered to be her replacement?
She was hand-selected. We can only afford to work with the best here.
Good Lord, that stinks.
You can smell it through your suit?
Smelling the corpse mother's toxic pus was enough to infect a person, turning their mind, causing them to die choking and convulsing, becoming one of her mindless zombies.
What do you mean? I...
Marx, put him down.
It would be my pleasure. Done.
Dude, you shot him.
I saved your life, kid. Just shut up and drag him out of here.
I'm surprised she didn't respond to that. A loud sound, I mean.
She shouldn't be responding to anything. Her brain hemorrhage would suggest a coma, and her rapid eye movement would suggest a deep sleep.
You mean she's not awake? With all that screaming and flailing?
We have her sedated right now. Her mind, however, seems to be stuck in a constant state of dreaming. Parts of her mind have decayed, and the distortion between sleep and reality no longer applies to the subject. She's living in a nightmare. She is a walking nightmare.
So you're saying she's dreaming all that right now? I thought we weren't even supposed to consider her human.
Dogs dream, Mr. Stacey. Doesn't mean they all go to heaven, now does it? I don't think anyone here questions the fact that our present work is morally ambiguous at best.
Nurse Maple, you have been awfully quiet this entire time. Do you have anything to add?
It's scary. What could the poor dear possibly be dreaming about?
Such the malicious monster she was, what indeed plagued her thoughts so? As if unaware of the violent actions she performed, the subject's mind wandered over thoughts of her past life, in her final moments of being alive.
Dear Daddy, I sure do miss you a lot. I hate sending you bad news, you know, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to finish the semester. I thought I could figure out how to do this, you know, working, schooling, and being pregnant. I really wish I was stronger than this, but I can't handle it anymore.
The subject seems to be calming down. I think I may have found the aggression trigger.
That's pretty deep in the brain. A normal person wouldn't survive such a surgery. I'm impressed she's not as dead as a doornail.
You mean like the orderly down there? He died just for not having his suit on right. Poor stupid kid. At least now we have somewhere to start.
But you've cut so deep. Won't that kill her? Or at least paralyze her?
The doctor says he thinks the birthing has a 70% chance of going smoothly. That's a lot better than what he said last month. Just remember, when you come down here, if we have to choose between me and the baby, it's the baby.
You know, I can't help but ask why you all insist on calling her the subject.
Didn't you read the last report? Her name is one of the triggers that sets her off.
I see. That sounds terribly dangerous. Being in the room with her like that.
I know it's not an easy thing for you to hear. That's part of the reason I wrote it down. It's not really easy to say either. We have to be honest though, Dad. I may not live through this. I just hate you having to go through this kind of stress again. I know it couldn't have been easy with Mom.
I'm not fond of it, no. But I'm not going to pretend to be okay with what she did to those poor people.
It's her I'm supposed to be raised like that?
The subject's freakish strength had broken through the restraints. She was still a vicious killing machine, ready to destroy and devour everything around her.
What the hell? Ah!
Get the boys down here. We got a problem.
The doctor had been impaled, disemboweled, beaten against the tables, and thrown through the thick glass of the observation room. The sponsors looked down on him, almost cheerfully. Mr. Stacey, realizing the danger they were all in, decided to voice the obvious.
I suppose that would be our cue to exit.
No, I think I'll stay and watch. Goodbye.
Your funeral, man.
Rachel, get the car ready. It's become rather grisly around here.
I'm getting tired of all the stares I've been getting anyway. I didn't ask for this to happen to me. But regardless, I will do everything I can for this baby. It's the right thing to do, you know? And, well, I've always wanted to have one. Planned or not, it's still my baby. Doc says it's a girl, but you know me. I won't believe it until I see it for myself.
On Marx's orders, other men with weapons entered the room, ready to take down the threat known as the corpse mother. They had to try their best to protect the medical staff, but that wouldn't be easy. Not with her targeting them first.
Get down.
The men moved with a deadly efficiency, riddling her with bullets. They were still too late to save Nurse Patterson. The unnamed sponsor grinned as he stepped out of the observation room, walking right over the dead bodies with no sign of fear or disturbance in his eyes.
Well done, gentlemen. I almost thought you weren't going to be able to put her down.
Stupid git thought she was gonna take us
Kingsley!
Of course it wasn't over yet. The subject had lashed out at them with all of her fierce, destructive force. Her dreams had only served to remind her of what these people had taken away.
Speaking of my babies, I hope Mr. Fuzzybutt isn't giving you too much trouble. I wish these stupid dorms would let us keep pets, but, well, I guess I just miss him too.
By the inn, Marx was the only soldier left standing. Both he and the subject locked eyes with each other, sharing a mutual hatred. Then, with cat-like speed, She ran out of the building to her escape.
Sir, she got away. Do we pursue?
Do not engage. Send a reconnaissance team to pursue, but I repeat, do not engage. Your men are not equipped to take her on. What's the status of the doctor?
Disemboweled.
That's unfortunate. I'll need a full casualty report. Bring any surviving medical personnel present here.
Affirmative, sir. Nurse, you're coming with me.
What? Where?
Just get up. Or would you rather be here when she comes back for seconds?
No.
How unexpected. It was nice to finally see your man in action, Marx. Oh, I'm sorry. That was inappropriate of me. I'm sorry for your loss, of course. Both your losses. But I do sponsor your organization for a reason, you know.
And you're alive because of it. You don't need to waste your words on me and mine. We're paid to do a job, and we execute. Now, if you'll excuse us, we're leaving.
Meanwhile, the newly liberated corpse mother continued her endless search.
I want to come up to see you next weekend. I should have the money by then, and we can talk about all of this in person. I'll be home soon, Daddy. Don't worry. You'll get to see your grandkids' first smile. I love you very much, and we'll get there, even if it kills me. Your loving daughter, Lilly.